You have arrived to the Plunge Into Prosperity podcast, where sacred wisdom meets regenerative wealth. I'm your host, Brandi Kolosky of Sacral Capital. Now let's plunge in. Welcome back to Plunge Into Prosperity, episode 24. It's kind of wild. It's only been 6 weeks, and we're already at episode 24. I'm Brandi Kolosky, and today's guest has spent more than a decade proving that systems change isn't a talking point. It's a body of work you can actually point to. My guest is Elena Bondareva, founder and CEO of Vivit Worldwide, a transformation and sustainability advisory practice. Elena left formal employment back in 2011 and built something most people only talk about, a genuinely borderless portfolio career. She's launched nearly 20 ventures across Australia, New Zealand, Russia, Africa, India, and the US. She helped establish 4 green building councils and the Living Future Institute of Australia. She served on the COVID-19 Taskforce for International Well Building Institute. She holds an MS and MA from Cornell. She's currently a PhD candidate studying social change at RMIT. And in 2023, she published, and that's how I found her, the Changemaker's Handbook, distilling 2 decades of research into actual usable roadmap for creating impact through business. Elena, welcome to the Plunge Into Prosperity podcast. It's an honor to have you.
Amazing to be here. Thank you.
Yes. And so for those that are new here, we always like to start it off with tell them why they should continue listening to this particular episode.
That's right. Attention spans. Because I've spent, over 2 decades working to create transformation, social movements, new industries, launch new initiatives on behalf of governments, nonprofit, third sector, private organizations. And along the way, I discovered something quite curious, and that is that the reason transformational initiatives fail, and most of them do, is maybe very similar to why prosperity fails. And the reason is that we are pretty haphazard about it. So roughly 70% of transformational initiatives fail and stall. And when you're facing a major life transition, an organizational transformation, wanting to launch synthetic biology industry or whatever it might be, why is it that we keep putting less planning into that than into, say, medical procedure? And what I mean by that, Brandi, is, it's okay to pop in for a flu shot, but if you're going to get a root canal done or a hernia repair, you'd plan for it. So transformation, like prosperity, I absolutely believe deserves at least that much respect. So my 20 years have been, plus 20 years plus, and the current research is really to study and communicate, as you eloquently pointed out, that transformation can and should be treated as a discipline, not just a hope.
Oh yeah, it's a daily habit for me. I literally go, where can I transform today?
Exactly.
Like
right?
It's the cure. Another one of our podcast guests, she's a TEDx speaker, and Dr. Julie Pham. Google and like Amazon hire her. She has a company called Curiosity Base. It's same thing. Curiosity should not just be a character trait. Curiosity should be like a daily habit, and it's about being curious about others and also transformation or learning where that data is coming from in many forms. But yes,
a habit, a skill set. I hope that my work results also in a community of practice, right? Imagine when we finally professionalize change making the way that we have firefighting or even dog grooming, you should be able to put on your LinkedIn that you have the half a dozen skill sets required information, so that if somebody's hiring you or looking to engage you, they know that you have that, which is quite a distinct, and I know we'll talk more about it, but it's quite a distinct predisposition and a skill set compared to, say, incremental change, right? Which is what improve things 3-5%. It's the tweaking. It's where a lot of benefit realization is. So I'm by no means saying anything against incremental change, just really advocating that it is different, fundamentally different. And so, yes, building that capacity is what my work is all about. Exactly.
That's beautiful. That's we are going to dive more into that in a few. How did you first discover your own personal definition of what true prosperity means to you? And how are you actively embodying it today, stewarding that vision in your work and personal life?
I actually think really early on. Mind you, I would not have used the word prosperity. And in fact, I would have been thinking in Russian back then. But I, some of this goes all the way back to growing up in the imploding Soviet Union, where a whole value system and economic system was kind of stripped from under people's feet. And in that
Mhm.
disorientation, my college university professor parents were bartering on street corners, and just the disorientation, humiliation were so palpable. The
Mhm.
fear, the need, everything that we fear in transitions was so present. And I actually remember kind of the intersection in Moscow where I stood about maybe 13 years old, going, change appears to be inevitable. I can accept that. But surely we can do this better. We can do this in
Mhm.
ways that unlock possibility, which is the connection to prosperity, that actually reinforce and enhance and fuel human dignity and
Mhm.
imagination and creativity rather than disparage them, right? So that understanding that prosperity is a freedom to exercise agency is where I have landed since, right? Because agency is
So
power,
well
the
said.
ability to choose for me, for my community, for the society at large. And so even over time, I've become way less interested or motivated to try to change people, which is where my work started, right?
Mhm.
Change. And really focusing how do we create conditions for people to exercise agency towards
Mhm.
change or transformation that they see.
Mhm.
So seeing prosperity is fundamentally an ability to exercise agency, even when fear gets a vote. And
Mhm.
I think it's really important in so many books and talks. And when we talk about leadership and prosperity and transformation, the reason I wrote my book is because I feel like we almost always talk about the good days when everything kind of goes to plan, or maybe just a couple of very predetermined silly things happen, right? Like Zoom didn't start on time. But we don't talk about the real messiness and the fact that in transformation, none of us have been where we're going, including me or you.
Mhm.
So nobody's their best person. Everybody's scared. Even if we don't feel it, if that's not the word, on the level of the nervous system, it is stress and it is fear. And so, with agency, for me, when it comes to prosperity, when it comes to expanding a range of irresistible options for myself,
Mhm.
it's how do we do this when fear gets a vote, but not a veto?
Yes. Anyone can say just, "Oh, freedom," but that is the more beautiful and in-depth version of someone just saying freedom.
Yeah, exactly. Because and look, and part of this, Randy, is English is not my first language, and yet I'm a
No, it's so
consultant.
eloquent.
And
And
so
it
yeah, but I get
I felt
curious.
like I just went through a little journey listening to that, you
Mm,
know? So
thank
thank
you.
you.
I just
Y
find words curious because
mm,
exactly what does that mean, freedom? What does it mean,
mhm.
even dignity? What does it mean, prosperity,
Autonomy.
autonomy,
Mhm.
and all of the other
Your
ones,
yeah,
sustainability,
agency.
cooperation,
Mhm.
self knowledge? Like they are,
Yeah.
and one of my pet peeves, which we don't have to go in, but I feel like a lot of leadership and self help industry actually thrives on shaming.
Yes.
Because when we put those words without really defining, without really going in your stomach, you will feel like
Yeah.
when you're finally telling your people that your organization is going to undergo a transformation.
Yeah.
Strength, that is leadership, that is empathy, right? Like without that, it makes most of us just feel like we're failing all the time
Mhm.
because these words are non-negotiable. They are so right and correct, and yet it's in the real living and the real
Mhm.
living and the
Mhm.
mess.
Yeah. Yeah, I always try to share my perspective or show people that I'm putting myself in their shoes because I also think that shows a different version of your ability to be curious about the other person, and also that they don't call it mirroring for no reason, right? Because whatever they're going through, there's something that's mirroring back to you that's even if it might be tiny, you have to you gotta take it, you know? And if you keep running away from it or ignoring what any of that's trying to say to you, if that human even if the person is a new person in your life, you only met them for 2 seconds, it's. If you keep running away from it or trying to ignore it, it's gonna just come back stronger and stronger. Yep, yep.
Exactly. Yeah.
Until it pushes that autonomy through.
And the thing on that too is I have been progressively switching to the concept of metabolizing rather than processing.
Yes,
May or may not make sense to a
interesting.
lot of people, but for me, processing is still a very mechanistic kind of linear
Wow, okay.
thing, right?
Mm,
Versus even what you're describing, it's metabolizing. So yes, we change the world, but the world changes us. More and more in
mhm,
my research is how much the change makers themselves are actually transformed, sometimes unrecognizably, by being in it. So we're not just some isolated bunch of actors going with our little, you know, little strings as a puppet masters. We're actually in it. We
mhm,
are always, as transformational leaders, part of the change. And part of our fear, my fear, yours is just like everybody else, we don't exactly know how we'll get spit out, right?
mm-mm.
there is a there is a risk that we take on by actually letting
Yeah,
things go through us. And yes, I think not running away and actually metabolizing.
mhm,
And sometimes, we metabolize things without becoming them, which is why I
mm,
think processing, I've become disappointed with the word
yes,
because metabolism can actually remove toxins. It's
yes,
very much saying, I need
or energy masses that create
right.
dis-ease. Yes, yes,
And I'm
yes.
not keeping it, right?
Yeah, no. I was just on with my healer. She's a healer, performance coach, past life healer, therapist. She's all of them. And there's a few people, and also being on these podcasts with women all the time. I'm not saying there's nothing negative, but you do take on a little bit of what they're going through. So
Totally.
I always make sure I have 15 minutes in between podcasts, meetings, interviews. I have 15 minutes to do clearing and make sure that I remove their stuff because that's also rude to be bringing in someone else's into this space.
That's such
Not
a
that it's
cool,
rude, but you know what I mean. In
but
my
it's
in my world, where I have the knowledge and the knowing that of that knowledge of the knowledge. Um,
now you
that
sound like a PhD
for
candidate.
me, it's rude to not do it, knowing I have that knowledge. Now, other people
And
that
I
don't.
and it's interesting because what I was saying earlier, right? That transformation, change making can be a discipline, not a hope. I would connect it back to this because with food, we do this, we call them palate cleansers.
Mhm.
Right? So your 15 minutes, if you go to a really good restaurant
Great
where he
analogy.
cared to prepare an amazing experience
I
for you,
love food
right?
and wine.
Yeah,
Yes.
like you're not just gonna walk in after Taco Bell and go, yeah, give me
Well, I
this.
won't go to Taco Bell in the first place.
Right? But it's that palate cleansing. It's exactly
Yes.
becoming intentional. If we
Yes.
want these amazing, huge, transformative things to happen,
Yes.
we need to create a process for ourselves and give ourselves permission
Mhm.
structures to go, I'm gonna plunge into this amazing thing, amazing
Mhm.
conversation, but then I'm gonna come out, I'm gonna restore my heart rate, I'm gonna cleanse this out.
Yeah.
Cleanse my palate so that I can participate in something else. I think you're absolutely onto something. And these transition times so my research is going to result in something similar to a periodic table of elements for transformation.
Yes.
We
Oh
can
my gosh, I'm obsessed. I'm such a nerd.
if
I
you're
can't
like,
wait.
yeah.
I can't wait.
So to the audience, if you can picture chemistry, and so actually these palate cleansings is an element that
Yes.
I will tell change makers build them in.
Well, it's built into my daily
Exactly
calendar.
right. So you
There's
absolutely are
no
onto that. Yeah.
yeah, there's no way. And then it also allows people forget to put themselves first. I think that's another whole part of transformation in both business and in personal life. Because also, whatever you're bringing into the business, if you're not putting yourself first, you're translating that into the business and the teams, and then whatever you're building. And if you're just applying those blocks in your calendar, you know, you come in more confident, and a prepared mind is a confident mind, right? In all forms. So you're just showing up all around better when you put those blocks in for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So could I just build on something you've just
Yes.
mentioned? More and more, I'm actually researching this hidden cost of change.
Mm.
So we celebrate founders, executives, thought leaders, and yet much of why the world has the ability to adapt to change is due to invisible work by change makers that remains invisible because we don't yet recognize it as a profession. But when you described all of that, my research absolutely suggests that the amount of burnout, I would even argue potentially chronic disease exposure, because if you're leading transformation, you're constantly in a state of physiological stress. Again, I want to separate this. We do what we love.
Mhm.
I'm not talking about I hate this.
Mhm.
So that thing and kind of going, that's why in other areas, we've even acknowledged a concept of public service, first
Mhm.
responders. We acknowledge that some people act in a way that actually does not serve their self-interest.
Mm-mm.
They are acting on our behalf, and how they're doing it is potentially hazardous, depleting,
Yes,
right?
to
So even when
others
you look at firefighters'
and to the
schedule,
business.
right? 2 days on, 3 days off. This is what you're saying. And this is something that I kind of tell change makers, create your bigger buffers,
Yes,
right? Like
yes,
if
yes.
a firefighter who didn't even fight a fight gets 3 days off because guess what? They were ready to fight one for 24 hours. They will then go and rest. So this hidden cost
Yeah,
ultimately is burnout. It is grief.
yeah.
Change
I'm
makers.
trying I'm trying to move away from the word burnout. I don't really, because we're
Oh,
not candles.
tell me more. Tell me more because I'm
Yeah. So,
definitely curious
and I
about this.
just worked on this with my healer right before I was with you today. And she tapped in, she checked earlier this morning when I was still sleeping. She checked into my life force. Life force is different from your electrical current. So, my life force was good, but my electrical
Mhm.
output was low.
Ah.
Okay, and that is because this week I have had a lot on my calendar, still had my buffers, but then there are also other humans in my personal life, and this is just something that I'll always probably need to work on because I am very intuitive and very tapped in and all the clairs, and I can hear family members or lovers or partners. There are things that are going on in their life, and so that was my life force was good, it was high, it was great, but it was that electrical output was low because I had given out so much of it. So you
Interesting.
even need to be even more tapped in to not just having your buffers. But and then yesterday I went in the ocean, I grounded, I try and ground every day. I did not ground yet this morning because right when I got up, I was right into everything and stayed up late working. So there's like these ebb and flows, right? But you do have t I think the really the only thing there, the most simplest way that I share with people is you just have to start becoming more tapped into your intuitive body, like listening to when that message says, "I need to stop," don't let outside forces tell you what to do. I don't know if I emailed you once, I think I did, but I had said, "Hey, my bandwidth is max today." Did I email you that once? I feel like I did. It
Of. It definitely is not something that's gonna shock me because
mm,
people like us, we start talking like this and we know what it means. So I can't quite like, it didn't stand out, but I do know that a couple times in our scheduling, we both were like, "This is not where I'm at," and it's
No, yeah, and it wasn't anything negative, and we weren't being rude to
no.
each other. We just knew, and so I know that there's been a few women over the past 2 months where I'm like, me and Dottie, I'm like, let them know my bandwidth is maxed. I am not going to show up my full self, so I'm not going to do the 15-minute little meeting. I'm not going to, and so
Yeah.
I really think the society has programmed people so much into putting that electrical output so much, right?
And that's where I would probably connect it to burnout because I totally appreciate your
Yeah,
perspective, and I
yeah.
don't wanna argue semantics, but I do
No.
want I'm gonna go away and kinda think about this, whether it is the life force, because I do feel like I have been in many, many change makers I've spoken to have been in places where that overall thing is depleted too. And one of the reasons I think it happens is what you've just said. We get better at what we practice, right? So we
Mhm.
practice almost this mechanistic survival. And I was raised in the Soviet Union, right? I am a machine.
Yes.
There was no, like,
My
we
gra
didn't do
you and I
psychology,
connect you and I
right?
connected because our grandmothers were in Poland. My grandmother was a Polish Jewish nurse. Epigenetically, I'm a machine because of that too.
Yeah,
Um,
and so, yes, when we develop this mechanistic, it doesn't matter how I feel. For years, I wouldn't even ask myself how I feel because
yeah.
what am I gonna do with the answer? There I
Oh, and
had
I
a
was an
whole
athlete. I was a ballet tap jazz dancer. There was none of
yeah,
that.
like, what
You
does it matter, right?
dance. Shut up.
So that can really do whatever the terminology, and I would
Yeah.
wonder if what your healer might say about this, because I do think
I'll
that
put you in
if
touch with her.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I do think we can tap, because what I am interested in more now, which is why I was so interested in talking to you, prosperity, possibility, joy,
Mm.
they are the other side of the work that is often quite painful, quite grueling, the challenges
Extremely
we face
painful.
in the world, the injustices, the avoidable harm. This is heavy. People are hurting. And so I think part of the reason I've been in and out of what I have called burnout to this source energy is because I would never replenish the joy.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think it was important. I was doing the doing. And then at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, almost having these arguments with the universe of going, I understand that I'm good for the world, but I don't like it. Like, my experience of living
Mm-hmm.
was just heartbreaking and exhausting all the time. So
Mm.
I do think there is life force draining that can also happen. And yeah, I agree with you, the buffers are not sufficient, but that's why focusing on prosperity,
Yeah.
possibility,
Yes.
joy
Yes.
is just as important. And if you
Mm-hmm.
asked me this 20 years ago, I'd be like, oh, that's just some softy middle-aged woman talking. And now I'm like, that is what allows
Mm-hmm.
to
I
keep changing the world, not just one initiative, but
yeah.
for decades and decades at a time.
Also, people give a shit about what other people think about them too much. That is very draining.
Yeah,
And that's
I
another
feel
that
like
I think that's also what creates this burnout, because not only
totally.
are you're sitting here like wanting to produce your best work or show up as your best self, blah blah blah, but instead of just worrying just about that, you're like, oh, what is that person gonna think? Or and it's that is very draining. Or worrying about what's going on in other people's lives because they have got their claws into you and they definitely know that there I was put in meditation school when I was 15, and we were taught in meditation school. They didn't call it meditation school. We called it life stream, by the way. And they didn't call it chakras. But we did body scans. We did colors. They didn't say chakras. And they taught us how, and I was 15. My grandmother put me in this. They taught us about vacuum suckers. That's what they
Mm,
called it. So humans that use you as an energy source for themselves.
yes.
So I am, and now my network of friends, close friends, and some family members are very small now because I've cleaned people out. I do 90-day clean outs of humans.
Nice.
Sorry,
90
not
days.
sorry.
No,
Oh
that's
yeah.
that's inspiring. That's very good.
Yeah, and it's because of this, and that's another reason why people let so many people in and want, and those type of people need to be placed a boundary, and they also need to be taught. Maybe they could learn something from someone putting their foot down,
Yeah, yeah,
in those
absolutely.
instances. There's a lot of variables as to why we burn out.
Oh gosh, right. And I actually don't think we've studied it enough. If for anybody
No.
who's really interested, the physiological, the solution side of it, the book Burnout by the Nagoski sisters
Okay.
is like one of my favorite resources. And how they
Yeah.
write is so great. But what they
Send me a
really
link to it.
I will, yeah,
Yeah.
because what I think we can do, and that's, and I'm sure that, we'll go on to other topics, but we may not be able to control the stressor, but we can control how we metabolize the stress. And so they write a lot about how do you complete the stress cycle? How do you move it out of your body? Whatever moved it in,
Mhm.
there's like other books on that. But
We
how do
might
you
my healer and I talked about that again today. Hold on, what did she
Mm,
say? Oh, hold on, I have all the notes in here. It's my like little oh, it says oh, huge antenna. It is not only maybe it was it before living in freedom. Um oh, uh so that when you start feeling that, how do we remove it? You just know that you are connected to spirit and they will clean it out for you. And then also that whatever just happened most likely isn't just only yours, and to learn how to just separate it. Just say it's
Yeah,
separated, it's not mine. It's a very that's very simple, but people need to wrap their head around it.
exactly. And then I do think that somatic things help. So, what the Nagoski sisters research reveals is even just sweating, so even jumping up and down, of course, breath.
Yeah. or like this
But
thing, the swinging and
swinging,
tapping.
dancing it out,
Mhm.
long hugs. So they talk about 20-second kisses and
Yeah.
2-minute hugs precisely because it's long and awkward. And yet
Yes.
our nervous systems will go like that limp kitten when the mama
Yes.
grabs the scruff. So those are the kinds of somatic things we can
Uh,
do in addition to what you're describing to just the physiological stress, let it kind of move all the tinglies, kind of let them kind of
mhm.
our bodies as
This is
well.
nice. I love that. That's beautiful.
Everybody, 20-second kisses.
Yeah.
That's everybody's homework for the weekend.
I'll be seeing my man here soon. We're living in two different places. 'Cause I took the plunge to Puerto Rico for us, so I go up to New York soon. So,
Aw,
yeah, I was like,
love
you know what? Well, I'm gonna make him do that.
yeah, time it and see how it feels.
Yeah, and we've known each other 20 years. It'll be fun. It'll be easy. Yeah.
Perfect, well,
So the Changemaker's Handbook. You spent 2 decades figuring out what actually makes transformational change possible before you ever sat down to write a book. What's the one belief in there that you think most people get completely wrong about creating real impact through business?
my gosh, good now I'm like, I have little competing answers in my head,
Yes.
going, me," and little voting.
Yes, of course. You can
Um,
say multiples.
yeah, I might just for the sake of not having you all wait through my voting in my head. Look,
I
I think
love that. I do the same thing, by the way.
so the one that I mentioned, I just want to bring to the forefront, fundamentally not understanding transformational change as a very different activity to small change. And part of this is language. We use the same word, which is why I'm trying to bring the word transformation to distinguish it from all the little changes that, right? So that's one big one. And then I do think treating it as hope and as intention, almost putting too much value on our intention, on even the veracity and credibility of the problem or the solution, or even on the charisma. So
Mm,
I'd probably say we've been valuing the wrong things
mhm.
when it comes to actually creating sustained large scale transformation. Not to say those things don't matter, but those things are kind of the same, say, for an Olympic athlete or a professional soccer player. And yet we don't just go, oh, well, if you like soccer and whatever, you'll just somehow end up at a FIFA tournament. No, decades of really focused training, selection on all kinds of levels, down to sleep and metabolism. We do that for athletes. And that's probably the biggest belief that as change makers, we just think, well, if we feel compelled to change the world and we just do everything we can, then A, it's got to work. B, if it doesn't work, they are wrong
Yeah.
and they don't get it.
Yeah.
And we become righteous because by that stage we're also hurt and disappointed. So I would probably go that that would be like the bundle, the
Mhm.
bundle
I
of
love that.
misconceptions.
That is I couldn't have said any of those more clear. The the righteousness and injustice. This one is one my healer talks with me about a lot. Because
And they're
a lot
huge
of
for
humans.
me.
Yeah, yeah,
They're
yeah, yeah.
huge for a lot of us. And that's the
Yeah.
thing. That's when we talk about shaming, there is some self-awareness, like, absolutely, I am judgy. Like we're not supposed to. We're supposed to,
I say I'm a sessy.
right? Like because it's like, well, actually, judgment, perception, all of these things, they are huge in creating change, right?
Yeah.
It's just at which point do we think we're better than somebody else? At which point do we use the failure of our skill set or of the infrastructure, right? The process, at which point are the failures of that assigned to the other people, which in our eyes then makes them lesser than, makes them the them and us the us. And that, I mean, that's probably the most common thing
Yeah.
I talk about when I build social movements or diagnose kind of stagnant social
Yeah. I
is
like the
this
diagnose.
the
Yeah.
righteousness. We feel it, like whether it's church, everybody who's listening this has at some point walked in and been in a group of people where you feel judged and othered. We feel it in our tummy, like we feel it in our bone marrow. We don't always know why, but that is one of the common problems that social change movements make people feel like that. And then we wonder why we aren't gaining more traction. Why don't people care about the seals and the
Mm-hmm.
this and that? And it's like, well, because they actually maybe care, but we make them feel like crap all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So really being careful of, I understand why you or me might have that reaction, but
Mm-hmm.
back to, does it actually go into how we behave, how we come across to the world is the big question.
Yep, that's great. I love that. That's definitely a change maker attitude for sure.
Whew.
Yep. Yeah, yeah, yes, yes.
Staying on brand, staying on brand.
No, these episodes are healing. Is
Yeah.
what I find, or there, or new ways of transformational ways of thinking about something you were thinking about before, but in a new way. This is what I've been feeling with the podcast when I'm in it.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. So you've helped launch about 20 ventures, and then you also describe yourself as an impact investor. What does that actually look like in practice for you? From managing, directing, launching ventures to investing in them. Uh, what have you personally backed? What do you look for before you do?
So I might answer that in two parts, kind
Yes,
of
it's
what
kind of a
that means for
multi.
me, and then what do I look for kind of my practice. So I think that the core of that for me is what I now describe as being a professional first follower. And I'll explain
Mm,
what that means. Like you mentioned 2011 when I wrapped up kind of formal employment and started on my own. Starting a consultancy that was about innovation, game changing innovation is what I used to say. Got the logo and was really interested in how my materials looked, website, etc. All of these things that we think, oh, we need brand recognition to do this work. And then what happened is me realizing the world is not short on reports. It's not short on recommendations. It's not even short on solutions. It is short on their implementation at scale. And that impact would not be possible if I retain my visibility.
mm-mm.
So I chose impact over visibility. So I've been
Mm-hmm.
in organizations and my teams for years sometimes when people don't even know we're there because I extend the change maker. I write
Yeah.
for them, I rehearse them before board meetings. We take their
I've
meetings, we
been
take
that person too.
right?
Mhm.
It's almost
Yeah, owning
building.
a marketing, PR, business development agency, clients, I would prepare them. Now, aside from me, investing and raising money, I also have, founders come to me, and I help prepare them as like a growth advisor, mindset, money, marketing on the back end, helping them build their data rooms, also how to verbally present their data rooms, coach them through that.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's really enabling that. And that's why the 20 ventures is if we're building anything or if we're expanding a company, say into the US or some other market, I will do all of that. And then I might come in and become the interim MD, right?
Mhm.
Again, the transformational, that initial woof
Mhm.
is a very different skill set
It
to
is.
a really good operator, right? So literally becoming that for a time. And that's why I've been kind of a chief executive or COO or interim MD of so many ventures, because it's like I can get it there and my job fundamentally, and that's the other answer here, obsolescence to your question, that fundamentally I need to make myself scarce. I need to make myself and my team obsolete because that's
Yes.
how change continues. And that is the
Yes.
biggest shift from when people want impact. They think it has to be their idea. And that's leadership. And I'm like, you know what? They're actually, yes, some of these have been mine, but there's so many amazing people doing amazing things that actually backing them with my full force is sometimes the most impactful thing I can do. And then, yes,
Mhm.
if I can spend the ego and not have to be the person kind of at the front getting all the credit, then even more impact. And so a lot of that is what I look for to your question as an
Yeah.
investor over the years and all of that is the willingness of people to actually build something that exists on its own
Or
to build.
recognize that there's a broken system and it needs healing.
Oh,
A lot
totally,
of
right?
people like to ignore that. And but that's my thesis is when I'm speaking with men, it's repairing antiquated systems that I'm investing in. But then with women, I'm healing broken systems when I'm speaking with
Yeah,
them. So
exactly.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's definitely a precondition, right? I think I probably don't even come across in my kind of orbit people who are not committed fully to systems change, right? So then it's really
Mhm.
looking at these other. And what else I look for, which if you're raising money, but that's why you're listening to this. When I talked about preparation and how transformation deserves at least enough planning that we give a root canal, I often, for example, don't back entrepreneurs who can't move off, but this is important. This problem is important. My solution is important. I'm like, yes, but that is only 5 to 10% of the whole thing.
Yes.
We have to
They're
do
fixated. Yep.
modeling, right? Because it's going to fail, not because the idea is bad. And this is something maybe that's comforting for people. I actually almost never come across bad ideas anymore.
Yeah.
A good idea is just not enough.
No.
So looking to partner to give of our talent as consultants or board members to another venture, for me is really about going, do you honor as that entrepreneur, as that change maker, do you honor the entire complexity it's going to take to build this whole thing from scratch? And
No,
it's going to
they're
be
they're in
more
they're already
people-based.
having fear. That's why they only want to fixate on one thing. Yeah,
Exactly.
I agree. Yeah. So when you think about where capital should be flowing to build a more regenerative future, where's the biggest blind spot right now that you're seeing?
You ask, again, there's like little voting, little sticky notes going on.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. We can always have a part two.
um, I would probably say impact assessment, longitudinal. It's I still find that most of us, including, and I understand that's how budgets work, especially in public sector, but projects end, teams disperse, even if it's that project is an international expansion or a new program or a whole new industry. And then what we change tends to revert to type because the systems are more like spider webs than Jenga towers.
Mhm.
So it's not about, oh, I've moved a few blocks. Good. Now, unless it's really windy, it's going to stay like this. No, it's more like a spider web. So the moment we let go, it will go poof and kind of back in, right? So more funding and more attention to how are we actually recalibrating systems. So I've identified
Mhm.
three
I love
dynamics
that word.
that are like three jobs a change maker and a transformation initiative must do. And that is catalyzing, nurturing, and recalibrating. And you can almost think of that as, the car has to have the suspension, the engine, and the brakes, right? And you kind of don't go, well,
And the
one without the
calibrator.
other, all of it, right? And so the recalibration is it's the most boring and unseen. It's actually going, if we are, let's say, simple, transitioning from chemical soaps in our bathrooms, I'm
Yeah.
going to use something really, really straightforward.
Yeah.
You can do this, you can implement it, you can even pick their best product. But then if your housekeepers or office managers have their shopping list and the next time they run out of soap, they never changed what it is that they're going to order, seems really silly. But guess what?
Oh,
Soap is going to end up back on the counter.
oh, yes.
So it's that's where not enough funding, not enough understanding that systems like being the way they are, even if I don't.
Yes,
Like they
yes.
are content. This is where when you and I both talk about respect, even dysfunctional systems that create loads of avoidable harm are content. So when we are changing them, enough time, enough effort, enough care needs to go to actually reattach, reshape, and then kind of monitor. So that's probably would be the top that comes to mind today, top answer.
That's beautiful. I love this. You've been a pleasure to have this podcast with for sure.
Oh, thank you.
So let's go ahead and move into letting our listeners know where they can find you,
Mm,
where they can download the Changemakers book or subscribe to your amazing
thank
Substack.
you. So Changemaker's Handbook, the actual original book, is available on Amazon all around the world. Published in 2003 as an ebook and a hard copy. Changemaker's Handbook, so the same title, is a Substack that has become a living book. So that's what you're also referring. Like, this is where I also conduct interviews. I'm also sharing interim results of my research,
Yes, you
and
are.
that can be watched, read, or listened to. It shows up on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, but the subscription is via Substack, free or paid. And I have a slightly different approach to paid subscriptions because my
Yeah.
audience has 44 countries now. And I appreciate that in
Yeah.
so many of those places.
I'm so
$5
proud of
is a
you.
lot of money. So I
Yeah.
more think that if some people can subscribe paid in countries where they can afford it, so that most of the content can stay free for change makers all around the world.
Okay.
So that's and then as the research completes, say in the next 6 odd months, another book or maybe series of books will come out, really breaking down some of the concepts that we've talked based on the
Mm,
research that would have been
yeah.
finalized.
Beautiful. Yeah, I will be signing up for my subscription. I did take a couple little dives in there, little plunges, but I will definitely be signing up and subscribing now. And
Yeah.
then I also want to just make note here. I'm going to introduce you to Crystal. She's one of my
Yes.
investors, but we're also going to be investing in her company. She's creating something called Intuitive Human, where how you have your brain scan and heart scan devices. She's going to be creating a gut scan one that
Oh,
hasn't been created yet, invented. Then you combine all of that, and then also from the spiritual realm of intuition and gathering all that data and studying. She's looking for 140 people to study on all these different intuitive abilities so that we can be more present in all of these beautiful suggestions that you and I just shared with the world.
yeah.
So if someone is listening right now and is sitting inside their own organization watching the same broken pattern repeat or in their personal life, you need to meet Elena. So please contact her. And Elena, thank you so much again. There's
Thank
something
you,
so
Deb.
powerful about the reminder that the changes that actually last are rarely the loud ones. They are the unglamorous, infrastructure level work nobody
Yes.
claps for until the day it's the only thing holding everything up until the end of
That's
that
it.
day.
Oh my gosh, that's so beautifully put. Thank you,
Thank
Brandy. Just a
you.
delight to talk to you and hopefully to your audience. More prosperity, more agency to all of us, I reckon.
Yeah, it's true. And from clean energy to wealth building, thank you for plunging into prosperity with me today. And to everyone listening, if this episode moved something in you, share it, leave a review, tag a woman or man in your life who needs to hear this conversation. Find us at plungeintoprosperity.com and sacralcapital.com. There's so much more waiting for you there. Until the next plunge, I'm Brandi Kolosky. Happy Friday and have a prosperous rest of your week. Bye-bye. Thanks for plunging into sacred wisdom and regenerative wealth with us. If your soul and your portfolio just got a glow up, hit subscribe on YouTube, Amazon, Spotify, and Apple. Share it with your crew. Tag us on social and join the movement at plungeintoprosperity.com. I'm Brandi Kolosky. Catch you on the next plunge.